Well, I think what makes doing PR for those types of companies where you're broaching on those subjects, what's different, let's say in science, than reading a science publication or a science journal is we are boiling down scientific or engineering subject material and making it digestible. But we have to envelop that in storytelling. So we're not just talking about the science or the engineering. We need to tell stories about companies and about people, really, because ultimately business is about people, no matter what the technology is. And so there may be a scientific breakthrough, but we want to look at, well, who are the people that developed it? How is it going to affect people once it's implemented? What is it doing for the economy or for the environment or for industry? Can we go behind the scenes and tell the stories of how those technologies were developed? And then, what does that say about the company that's created a new piece of technology, right? So it's not just one product. It's you want to convey that a company has an innovation pipeline that they can continually put out good products and breakthrough products and are consistently changing an industry, because in B2B, the relationships with their customers are like our relationships with them. They go on for years. They have to be trusted. You need to be able to convey to trade media or business media, what does X product mean for this company and this industry moving forward, right? So again, we have technology, we have science, we have engineering, but we're trying to envelop that in something that's a stronger story about people and about economic movement. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do. Here's a question for you, or I think something that would be interesting to get some insight on. How do you think your writing has changed from, because I still remember your original writing and like when you first joined SE10, and I don't really think your writing style has changed much, but what do you think are the big differences between, say, sitting on that, running that innovation beat at a big business publication like Business Week versus doing a lot of client content or storytelling on behalf of them? What do you think are the big differences that you've noticed?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, the fundamentals are still the same, right? Of getting information through clearly and concisely, and I think getting to the point, like right away, getting to the point. The differences are probably in the rhetorical flourishes. I had a little bit more fun. Maybe fun's not the right word. I could pull tricks with my writing when I wrote for business pubs like a Business Week or Fast Company. So what comes to mind is, one time we did best sneaker designs of the year for the design beat at Business Week. And I started it off with Business Week's got more kicks than a Bruce Lee flick. And it was a line from a Criss Cross song from when I was a kid, like listening to rap as like a 7-year-old. And I could throw those kind of fun things in. Or we did a story about how Disney comes up with new toys. And the story started with an anecdote like about a small child holding a toy in their hands for the first time and trying to figure it out, like with their brain, with their hands, and what that process was like, and how ultimately that's what the product was attempting to do. But then there was going to be this big behind the scenes of how you get it done. I don't think we have those kind of flourishes with what we do. It's more informative. So I think it's getting to the point a bit more, writing sharper, quicker. You have a much educated about a specific topic audience. So I wouldn't say a more educated audience in general, but I would say if they are in construction, they're very educated in construction. So you kind of need to get, I think, right to the point of what they want to hear and get right to the results.
Yeah, they've got to retain
Yeah.
knowledge base, right? And so you have to, it's I mean, it comes down to the basics of communication and understanding your audience, right? Who am I writing for? And then using that as the starting point, and then going back and just using that as the basis of the story, or making sure you've got the narrative correct, or using the narrative then to dictate the audience. I mean, I guess that's kind of that's the interesting diversification you're getting now, right, with the shift into digital, right? Whereas, I mean, if you kind of think back to when we were doing content 10, 15 years ago, right, it would be quite one-paced. But now with the advent of increasing presences on social media for businesses, and also how they want to present themselves on the web and the different story formats they're looking to tell, and then also how we package material if we're sending it out to media, or if we're doing some comms direct to customers or out to a distributor network or something like that. The kind of the different writing styles and personalities that you can kind of build in there, I think is, to my mind, that's been one of the most interesting and fun changes that you can have. And as a writer, I mean, if we remove the PR bit, we talked a lot about writing on this podcast so far, haven't we? But if you strip it right back to the process of journalism and storytelling, challenging yourselves to write in those different styles is it's a really good challenge for a writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my favorite part of the job still is when I have to write something and I just pop open a blank Word document, and it's like, what am I going to do here? And knowing 45 minutes later, I'm going to have filled the page with something polished and pristine. I still notice that when you write something like a really good piece, whether it's a good press release or a story for a magazine or something for a content hub, that when you write it really well, you get positive feedback. There is still a difference between really good writing and writing that just kind of checks the boxes. You know, I would even go so far as to say, in my experience with PR, I think being a good writer is fundamental to the job, and actually like maybe even still the basis for success, because it's presentations, it's speeches, it's press releases, it's web copy, it's talking points, it's messaging. All of that has to be written, and it has to be written sharply and precisely and accurately.